Hello everybody, it's Holger Müller here from Constellation Research to welcome you to another episode of Constellation TV with my fabulous co-host Liz Miller.
What's happening, Holger? Got a new background. I'm here on the road.
You must be drinking too much scotch in Scotland here. What's going on?
I am. I'm here in Scotland. I'm on the road. I've been with the great team at HCL here in Scotland for DX Deploy. So that's coming up soon. We've been having fun. There's been lots of scotch. There's sheep roaming around. I'm in Edinburgh now. I can't complain. It's been great. How are you?
Yeah, no, all good in San Diego. My background doesn't lie, right? So
I know. Here we go. Let's talk about the news.
Well, the news. Well, the big news this week is certainly Oracle. Still acquire Oracle, who's gotten a little more quiet in recent years, right? Only doing small tuck-in things, buying strange acquisitions like cash register companies, right? So everything like, and then you pay.
Point of sale and commerce isn't strange.
You pay in a retailer and say, oh, Oracle, Micros. Oh, interesting. So, okay. But that's all fine. But they did the big one, right? Which took a long time, announced almost a year ago, the Cerner acquisition. Super smart, strategic. I mean, if you have a way to buy into what might soon be 20% of the US economy, right? Like 16-7% is healthcare, and by one of the two major players, the third one doesn't really matter. I mean, you create a soon like there's no space for anybody else, right? And Oracle already has a good position in the space, right? I mean, they were very interesting. Like 20 years ago, they built the healthcare transaction-based, headless, you would say today, way of running healthcare to give to software vendors, and there's an OEM part, which was John Wookie's project when he came back to Oracle, which was interesting. But Larry always cares for it, right? He does a lot of philanthropic work on this, and in his webcast yesterday, it was all about the Universal Health Register, which surprisingly will be built in Oracle. But in a nut takeaway, very smart because, okay, growing part of the economy, you don't get anybody else in there. If anybody else buys Epic or Cerner, which are the two big ones, the elephants in the room, you're going to feel really, really bad. And people at Epic must be super happy because Cerner is gone now. And who's going to bid for Epic, right? And everybody who wants to be in healthcare have a seat at the table, Microsoft, AWS, IBM, whatever, a few names, it's going to be a bidding war, right? And I think could be interesting. I'm going to go on a limb here. It might be even a consortium.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Right? That would be interesting. We're going to get the cloud business. We're going to have our software assets there. We're going to throw in our database. So could be an interesting combination. Maybe 2-3 buyers who like divvy up.
I don't know. I mean, AWS is kind of interesting in that regard, right? Because AWS would be interesting because you've got them recently kind of divesting in some of those areas as Amazon writ large, kind of moving away from some of those healthcare, but kind of keeping in that cloud space for healthcare. That could be a smart move for them. So who knows what happens?
But I would be very surprised because if AWS has 20 billion, they're going to build more region centers.
Yeah. Well, true. I mean, there's
volume of that, right? So instead of buying,
it's always changing. You never know. But healthcare is still a dynamic space, right? And you've still got the reality of that next phase of evolution, right? We saw healthcare change so dramatically during the pandemic. You saw that really go global. But now we have to normalize care, right? We have to normalize how digital care and telehealth is delivered. That's going to take a much bigger footprint and a lot more investment into cloud. So I think we're going to see a lot more happen in that space. It's going to be really hard to figure out where that goes.
Right. It's going to be a big boost for Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, right? Third or fourth, depending on which analyst company you believe in. But it's going to give it a lot of organic load, which is all the race about getting market share in public cloud. So,
hey, talk about going digital. I mean, Salesforce Connections was last week. We saw a lot of big news coming out of the big Salesforce marketing celebration. But the most interesting one, quite frankly, is Salesforce is inviting most brands to really go digital and take that step into the digital world by being able to mint your own NFTs in a very secure and known space. So NFT Cloud is here. It was an idea that was launched. Certainly, we heard a lot about at Trailblazer DX, but it's now available. They launched it at Connections. So I think we're going to start to see a lot more stuff happening in that NFT space. The problem is the vast majority, I think we all agree, a lot of NFTs are just utter garbage, right? Not a lot of people know what value is there, and they don't really know what brand equity is there for that. So I think we're going to see a lot of change, and there's going to be a lot of wobble in that space. But if you want to go mint and you want to go mint fast and you're a Salesforce house, it's a really interesting cloud to start investing in.
But it's interesting because for Salesforce being the market leader, it's almost the acquisition. Am I sitting this one out? And if it goes up, I'm going to acquire someone? Or am I going to plug it all in and discourage potential competition startups? Oh my God, Salesforce has an NFT cloud. Can I even compete with them? So it's an interesting situation. When is it shipping?
And I think it's shipping. I believe it's available now. If I'm not mistaken, it's starting to ship in the next quarter. So I think we're going to start to see that.
Okay, then I'll take one.
In a year, it'll be here. Yeah, no.
No, there's another company starting with S who, if you want to figure out who it is, I worked for twice, look it up on my LinkedIn, who were masters in the 90s to just announce stuff, just to freeze the market and gain some time and so on. So kudos to Salesforce that are shipping something this year, right? Because,
no, they really started.
Market leaders
they really heard from their customers.
Yeah.
They heard from their customers, and customers are really wanting to understand what's happening with NFTs and what direction they need to go in. So it's certainly something that's shipping now, and I think it's certainly something they're investing in now. What I think it's really interesting is it really further pits a lot of the creative ideas that you see start coming out of Adobe with those ideas that are coming out of Salesforce. So when people kind of start to question, are Salesforce and Adobe really competitive? Are they, being able to mint an NFT in the digital world, that's something that, Adobe kind of came out strong with, of like, hey, we're going to invest a lot in the metaverse. We're starting to see is this the Salesforce answer to that? Who knows? But I think when it comes to the world of marketing and the world of creativity, I think we're really starting to see people start to try to figure out, what does the next digital world look like? Is it going to be NFTs? I personally don't think so. But I think it's going to be something beyond that. I think NFTs is a really interesting starting place. It's kind of like when people started to dabble in social media by doing something in MySpace, right? It was like the first place they went. Right. And NFTs are the first place people are going to go when it comes to kind of developing those relationships in the metaverse. It's not going to be where they stay.
Yep. Yeah, interesting. And then the other big news is this chip maker from Taiwan, right? It's a Broadcom who desperately wants to become an enterprise software vendor, right? So they buy CA, venerable CA, right? Now even have a head of software, and they strike again after they couldn't get Qualcomm, which would be a little closer to what a chip maker is. Right? And then someone vetoed it in the last administration for whatever good or wrong, or right or wrong reasons, doesn't matter. So they buy VMware. What a genius move, right? So because
you know what? If you're not going to build it, buy it.
Yeah, but why do you need, as a chip maker, a virtualization vendor? Right? The interesting thing to me is you can do all these chip-to-click, right? So Oracle has this chip-to-click stuff, right? They design their chips all the way to the user click, whatever 7, 15, ISO, OZ, whatever layers across, right? And Broadcom builds chips, right? And now we all talk about secure workloads and tokens and unbreakable and not visible and so on, right? Enclave based and so on. So it could be an interesting thing to have a more chip-to-click offering, and VMware on appliance on an integrated better way, taking advantage of Broadcom chips, of course. What could go wrong, but potentially other chips too.
What could go wrong?
Regulator scrutiny from that perspective. So we vetoed them buying. The US vetoed them buying Qualcomm for strategic reason, but now they control every workload that runs through VMware. Maybe it will be a good sign how good our regulators pay attention to software, right? Because VMware is in a unique.
That is a good question. That is a good question, because if you objected to one, like, one would think this one isn't even. This isn't necessarily any better.
So I'm not sure. I don't remember with security reasons or market domination reasons, right? Because market domination falls away because it's a really totally different buyer for virtualization than for chips, right? So it's not even right directly in. But can you bridge that gap? Definitely.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting.
Yeah. So what's up next for you? What's next up on the news cycle for you?
Lots of earnings calls happening right now, right? So then event-wise,
they're everywhere.
It's going to be HPE's event in 3 weeks in Las Vegas. In the meantime, I have a little fun trip to Oslo on the longest day to speak for a small SAP ecosystem low-code vendor, Neptune. So very interesting offering. Wrote some case studies for them, which are super interesting about how much you can do if you empower a few IT people or business users and give them a tool. And all of a sudden, we bought it for five apps, and all of a sudden it's 50. 70, and everybody's happy, right? It's like mushrooming in a very successful way. So the viral aspect of low code, no code for the long stick automation is super, super interesting.
Yeah, it's taken off. Hey, listen, Holger, I realized that this whole low code thing might stick around when marketers started asking for it.
Ooh, scary. Scary.
Well, listen, I think
But
that
the
wraps it up
market will
for
go
us, right?
straight go to no code. Right? So because,
Yeah, we don't want any code. We've been living in a world of no code. Now we maybe want to like dabble in a little stuff. We're gonna go mess up stuff up just a little
no
bit.
code in the cloud, completely ethereal.
No
But it's exactly what I think. That's what's happening. I'm waiting for the
Exactly.
brain interface for any software, right? Because writing software at the speed of thought, that's really the barrier, right? But probably some outsider like Elon Musk will figure that out, not the people who say,
Oh,
look,
well, he's got to
change the
figure out
font in
Twitter.
our IDE. It's really going to make a big difference.
He's got to figure out Twitter first. So we'll leave him up to that, and maybe we'll cover that the
but
next
he's
time we
sort
cover
of
the
getting
news.
cold feet a little bit with Twitter, right? So,
Well, he just got access to the fire hose, so they're giving him access to the fire hose. So it feels like they're
I wonder
calling
who's
his bluff. So we'll
analyzing
see what
fire
happens.
hose. Actually, it should be
I
interesting
know.
to look at Elon Musk's tweets, right? If he spills any beans about what whoever smart person is checking the Twitter fire hose, right?
Exactly. Well, I think that covers it for the news this week, Holger. And
Certainly.
gosh, on to some interviews. We've got some great interviews coming up with Meg Bear from Success Factors. So that's a fun conversation. I got a
don't
chance
miss
to talk
that one.
to Dan
Because
Ben.
I missed
Yeah.
that one, and they make tons of
You
fun
missed
of
it.
Unexpected.
Right.
What could happen if I missed?
What
if I missed the
what
long
could
50,
possibly
right? Yeah.
what could possibly go wrong? What could possibly go wrong? And I had a great conversation at the Ambient Experience Summit with Dan Ben and had a great time doing that. So stick around, check out those interviews, folks. Welcome back, everyone. Well, listen, I ditched my partner in crime, Holger Mueller, so I could have a one-on-one Salon 50 with Meg. What's up, Meg? Amazing executive out of SAP and Success Factors. How are you?
I am doing well. And you, Liz?
You know what? I'm hanging in there. It's a fun day. I get to have a fun conversation with you and ask some awesome questions because here in the Constellation Research TV Lounge, the Salon 50, it's the best way for everyone in enterprise technology to get to know the people in enterprise technology. So it's going to be all about you, nothing about the technology.
Fasten your seatbelts, people. This is going to be a wild ride. So, Liz, I guess I get to start, right?
You get to start.
All right. So, I want to know your favorite word to use in the workplace.
Ooh, that's such a good question. I don't know. Isn't that awful? It's really, I know the word I use most often, which is actually.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it is not a great word, and I use it all the time. It's a vestige of my Los Angeles-ness, I'm afraid. But I don't think I have one that I like to use. I think it's because I write for a living, so I get to use a lot of words. I find
all your words in the written form.
Yeah. So I don't necessarily have a favorite one. I have a least favorite word in the English language, though.
Which is?
Moist. It's a
horrible. Okay, well that's
terrible.
Well-covered territory.
Ugh,
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Okay, here I go. Now I got one for you.
All right.
If you could learn a language instantly, what would it be?
Well, based on my current role, I think German would be really, really helpful. I spend a lot of time in Google Translate with emails and such, and I go to a lot of meetings where I'm sure they're talking about stuff that's not at all interesting, but I feel like it would be nice to know.
It would be really cool if, exactly. You know, we could somehow arrange for like an instant Holger app.
Ooh, that would be good. Or just a Babel fish, right? Like, you know, a little earpiece. Yeah.
Babel Holger. It'd be fine.
That could be frightening, actually, if he was talking in my ear all the time.
We really don't want that. Yeah, that'd be...
All right. So what skill or hobby could you do as a kid that you've forgotten as an adult?
Skill would be, oddly enough, a language. I was fluent in French and in Irish when I was a kid, and I could toggle between the languages. And I lost it completely, probably by the time I was a teenager. Luckily, I can still read it and I can still understand it. The Irish is the Gaelic is a little bit harder than the French. But the good thing is when I get into a cab, I know if you're talking smack about me.
I'm so jealous.
Yeah, it's a life lesson and a skill all wrapped in one.
That is amazing.
Okay, I'm gonna hit career now. What do you consider to be your greatest achievement so far in your career?
Ooh, well, my greatest achievement overall is building two amazing humans, but that's a little bit less career oriented. You know, it's interesting for me with whatever I do, I'm kind of all in when I do it. So the thing I'm doing now is the most amazing thing, and the thing I was doing before was the most amazing thing. So so right now we are focusing a lot on the concept of expanding the definition of your whole self within the system. So thinking about you more than just your skill and your job, but also like what are your passions and your aspirations and your motivations and all of that. And so I'm really excited about this because I think this opens up a lot of opportunity for people. So I'm really proud of it. I'm really excited about it.
I love that because, I mean, what is the headline we all keep hearing about, right? The great refactoring, the great resignation. And I think the thing we keep hearing time and time again when it comes to people taking that long look at their jobs, taking that long look at their satisfaction is they aren't able to bring their whole self to work.
Yes.
And that's a problem. And we have to figure out how to crack that in a world where we're not used to allowing people's whole selves to come to work. So I love that you're working on that. That's awesome.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. You're next.
All right. Worst advice you ever received?
You should smile more.
Yeah, that one sucks.
There we go.
Totally agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say that was also second to one of my bosses very early on in my career told me that if I wanted to get ahead, I needed to learn how to make a better cup of coffee.
Okay.
And so the next time he asked me to go make him aforementioned cup of coffee, I walked into the break room and I poured just coffee grounds into a cup and then filled the cup with water and then put a stick in it and then just waited for a few minutes to get the water nice and brown. And then I walked and I was like, I just don't know if I made it any better this time, but I tried really hard and put the cup down in front of him and then sat in front of my multi-million-dollar television proposal that was going on because I was working in sports at the time. And I was like, okay, let's negotiate this contract. And then sat there and watched him pretend to drink the wet coffee grounds so he didn't embarrass himself.
Do you think he learned a lesson or not?
I don't know, but suddenly I stopped getting asked to go get the coffee.
Yeah, that is a strategic play for sure.
Yeah. I was like, there we go. So, where and when are you the most productive?
Well, it depends on the type of productivity. So I would say for the most part, I'm really productive when it's early morning and my house is quiet and I'm able to kind of get through a lot of things. Yeah, so I think it's less about the morning and more about the house being quiet, if I'm honest. So that's probably the most kind of broadly productive, but I think I'm a little bit more creative in the afternoon. So again, I think it depends on what kind of productivity.
Awesome. Okay, we'll go with the last question we got here. Last two.
Okay, what sparks FOMO for you?
You know what? It's pictures of my daughter doing something when I'm at work. And it's a picture of my daughter doing something really fun, like with her friends or other members of her family or with my husband. I'm like, I'm missing out on that really important moment, right? And I know that all the moments are important, but I do. I look at that and think, that's what I fear I'm missing out on, because all the other stuff that's kind of going on around me and like life and the world and all of that stuff, I feel like I get to be part of what I want to be part of. So I don't have that kind of distance envy or, on other things, but I do sometimes look at the fun that my daughter is having if I'm on the road or if I'm working. And I think, I'd like to be finger painting at home right about now and not on this airplane.
So cool though, right?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I get the best of all worlds and I am not going to take that for granted and I am not going to complain about it, but that is that one spark, that one little moment. So let's end with this. What is your wish for the future?
All right, so this one is going to go a little deep, apologies, but I really, really do have a wish for the future that allows for more belonging in work. right? That allows for more achievement of potential in work. So, I mean, obviously being a woman in tech and having been the only for a long time, it really matters to me that there's room for more voices, more opinions, more options. And, I'm just really believing that we're at this moment where that can and will change. And I'm just really committed to try to see that happen.
I love it. I love it. Meg Beer, SAP Success Factors. Thanks so much for spending this time with me in the CRTV salon.
Thanks, Liz. I think we should have made more fun of Holger, but
that goes without saying. We'll have a whole other episode where we just go ahead and ask questions like we're Holger and then answer them like we're Holger.
I'm all in. Let's do it.
We are here live at AXS 2020 in New York. We're doing a bit of a live interview here, so thank you to our audience for indulging me on this, but we're going to have this on CRTV. Dan, Vin, thank you so much for coming. Share with the podcasting audience who you are and what you do.
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Dan Vin. I am the Vice President of Marketing and Communications for the Culinary Institute of America, the original CIA. Founded in 1946.
Right, the one that gives you good food.
Exactly.
We'll just go with that one. So, arguably, we've been talking about experience. We've been talking about the metaverse. I don't even want to know what an NFT cooking class is like. I can't deal with that right now. But you're really at this really interesting intersection point of experience, right? Because the Culinary Institute is arguably training the chefs of tomorrow. You're bringing in those chefs to want that education. You're trying to get people excited about food. When you think about experience, what does experience really mean for you now? And how is that also going to have to evolve, say, 5-10 years from now?
Experience in terms of the chef.
What you are delivering as the VP of marketing for the Culinary Institute. Like, what does experience mean for you guys?
Gosh, that's a big question. First of all, we don't only train chefs, but we also train culinary leaders. The food world has really, impacted every aspect of our lives, and so the Culinary Institute of America has really evolved over time. So, of course, we train chefs, but we also train leaders in food policy, food media. Sustainability,
nice.
Driving impact in the food systems, and now addressing equity, inclusion, and all of those issues of food waste, et cetera. So in terms of experience, it's really a 360 for our students. They're coming out learning something completely different. It's not just about cooking, it's about what are we addressing for food waste, right? So how did that change how you delivered that? Because I'm imagining that there's different technologies that you guys have to deploy now. It's not just like, bring your knives. Right? For sure. From a marketing perspective, one of the things that I created when I came in, I've been there 3.5 years, and my prior background was at AOL, at Marriott. Were you also at Oracle? Because we seem to be running like some kind of weird Oracle help desk function here, like a recovery program or something. I just didn't know if you'd worked at Oracle as well. No. Okay, good. Okay, just checking. But a big part of what we do is really making sure that our students know how to create their own brand, create content. So we built a content studio. Oh, that's awesome. So that our students can learn how to do TikTok and IGTV, IG Reels. Doug can come and teach a class on how to do TikTok. Yeah, because for these students, it's not just about learning how to cook, but how to build their own brand when they go out and. So you're teaching them really how to do those overhead shots. Like everybody during the pandemic who went out. Okay, how many of you taught yourselves? Sorry for our CRTV audience. I'm just going to ask the live audience. How many of you taught yourselves how to bake sourdough bread? I knew we were at least going to have one hand. I just knew it. But you're teaching all of the chefs who come in how to take those pictures, how to market themselves, how to talk about them, even before they're out getting a job.
And a lot of them actually come in with a lot of great experience.
They've already got it.
And so for us, it's about how do you create your narrative? How do you tell the story? So they have great technical skills.
Yeah.
And so it's all about brand building. The other piece is there's a lot of new technology now since COVID.
Sure.
In terms of like home delivery and things like that. Even OpenTable has a lot of, it has a great CRM platform now where you can capture customer data and then
That's awesome.
train them front of house how to be more intuitive servers. And
bringing up different skills in
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I
and
love
then
that.
pre-shift preparation where you're looking at who's coming in and how do you service them and how do you know what their favorite wine is and what their favorite dishes are so that you can start to promote, because we have multiple restaurants across all of our campuses and our customers travel across those restaurants, and so being able to connect their preferences. So these are great learning opportunities for the students, not only in the kitchen, but front of house, as well as new technologies that's coming on board.
But it keeps always coming back to data, right?
It all comes back to data.
That's the fascinating thing that has been happening, even at AXS 2022, that has been happening all across these conversations about experience, is that you're talking about taking that data that's what's happening in those restaurants, what's happening with your students, and connecting all of that and bringing that together. I'm telling you, we got someone with wine. We got someone who's gonna be like top cooker instead of top coder. I'm just giving you a new business idea. I'm just saying. We're going to have a whole thing. You got that one? Okay.
I've already sent Top Coder website to my web team.
Right. Top Cooker.
Helena will talk later.
Kelvik, right. We'll get all of that going. So we're just making friends and making businesses here at AXS 2022.
Exactly.
So there's a little thing that we like to do on CRTV. And if you want to follow us on Twitter, it's going to be at CRTV_show. We like to do something we call the Salon 50. It's normally Holger and myself asking you questions about yourself. Holger is not here, so I'm just going to do a lightning round of Salon 50. Okay. You okay with this? Okay, here we go. Here it is. Here's the last one. What's the best advice you've ever gotten in your career?
That's a good question. I think it's asking for help and receiving help. For an Asian, it's not part of our culture, right? It's like we figure it out, we do it ourselves.
Yeah.
And so it's something that I had to learn. And I think also in my marketing role, there's a lot of pitches that I get, a lot of partners come on board, a lot of vendors. I take all those calls. I talk to them and I give them the respect because I don't know where it's going to go, but oftentimes I've had to call on those partners and opportunities happen.
Yeah.
So,
I love it. Take all the calls.
Take all the calls.
But then also ask for help.
Yeah.
Yeah, delegate. I like it.
And then also put yourself out there.
Yeah, for sure. Well. I love it. Okay, so what's a hobby from childhood that you have forgotten but you would want to do again today?
Wow.
Can I set the bar really quickly for you? 5'9" CEO, Roland Trollope, he has the high bar for answers on this one because he said breakdancing. And we were like, no one's ever going to answer this question. So there's kind of a high bar. So what's the one hobby that you could do as a kid that you would want to be able to do again now?
So I don't know if it's a hobby. It's something I was forced to do.
Oh gosh. It's going to be in a musical instrument. I just know it.
Piano,
Yes! I'm like, two Asian kids sitting up here. Of course someone's going to have to play the piano. Right? Of course that's happening. I just knew it. I just knew it was happening that way.
I never took it seriously. Now I wish I did.
Right. Now you went. Right. Okay. Least favorite word in the English language?
Oh. Well, there's a lot of, business jargon that I can probably...
Yeah.
But right now, my teenager ends every conversation with bruh.
Nope. I'm tapping out on that one. No.
And for the longest time, I didn't know what she meant.
Right, you were like, brah? What? Yeah.
I'm not your brother. Right. Don't call me your brother. And she was like, no, that's not what it means. It's just bruh.
Oh, God, I kind of love her, but I also don't want that word, right? I don't want that word. Dan, thank you so much for agreeing to be tortured. Thanks, guys, for tuning in.
Thank you.
Well, listen, folks, thanks for joining us here on episode 36, I think. 36? I think that's where we were. But here we are at episode 36, so thanks for joining us. And, hey, next up, and I think about 3 weeks is going to be Dion and Doug coming back at you with some news, and then we will be back later in the summer. You can always follow us at Twitter, CRTV_show. We'll see you next time.
Okay, so what do we need to produce today?
Just in case we need.
So very loud, and I tried to ask you nicely to be.
So I'm filming something right now when no one else was in here. So I apologize if it ruined your dessert.
Oh, you're not allowed to speak?
No, I'm not.
You went to the library.
No, I'm not getting kicked out. I was the only person in here for about a good 20 minutes. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and just film in here. Right. And then grandma comes in, doesn't pick up after herself, has left a mess at her table, but I'm the rude one for doing work in the executive business lounge.
You're still on muteless. Yeah.
Go away.
Yeah. Tourists from the US.
Shoot. Right. You stole shit from the executive lounge to take to your room. Be quiet. Right. If the Hilton in Edinburgh wants to know where all of their caramel crisp cakes went, her room. You little snatch. Anyway, okay, I'm good. Woo.
Okay. Good. Venting is an important part of filming Constellation.
It's an important part of CRT.
For CRT.
I'm not prepared for this.
I know, it's fine. I'm not prepared for it. Oh my God, that's like the official CRTV tagline. Did you not know that? That's awesome. Okay. Well, Doug and Dion are always super prepared. If you guys watch any episode, they're super prepared. Holger and I are like flying by the seat of our pants.
Oh my God, help us.